The views or opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Westman Communications Group or its employees.
Welcome to the WCGTV podcast. I'm Kevin Spooner, and this is my first time on the podcast. I'm looking forward to it. What I'm really looking forward to, however, is speaking with my guests. Today, I'm joined by Jayon from Reactive Massage. That's corner 7th and Rosser. Call for an appointment anytime you like. And I'm also joined by the Executive Director. That's a nice fancy title. I like that. The Executive Director of the Brandon Downtown BIZ. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Emmy.
Pleasure to meet you too. Thanks for having us here.
Welcome to our cozy little corner where we get to do these fun little podcasts, and we get to talk about pretty much whatever we like to talk about. Today we're going to talk about the Brandon Downtown BIZ. Of course, my first question is, what is it and why is it here?
So the BIZ is a business association, is kind of the umbrella term, and BIZ actually stands for Business Improvement Zone. And a business improvement zone could also be called a business improvement district, a business improvement association, can go by a few names, but they're all essentially the same thing, that they're an organization devoted to supporting the commercial operations in a geographical region. So, for instance, Winnipeg is broken up into 16 BIZ districts. They have the Osborne Village BIZ, Transcona BIZ, and then of course the Winnipeg Downtown BIZ is quite large. So, and typically in a city, for instance, Saskatoon is broken up into a number of business improvement zones, but some cities only have their downtown. If you're gonna have one business improvement zone, it's gonna be the downtown core because that's your densest commercial area. Yeah. And so this is the Brandon Downtown BIZ.
Well, that's neat, but there must be some history to the BIZ. Where did it get its start, and how has it progressed through its life?
So years ago, and I'm not an expert on this one, but I want to say about 20 years ago, there was a BIA in Brandon, a Business Improvement Association, that operated for a while, and I can't give a lot of history on that one. But then fast forward to the 20-teens.
Before your time.
Yeah, before my time. Fast forward to the 20-teens, there was what I would call the first version of our BIZ, the Brandon Downtown BIZ, and it operated for a number of years, maybe about 7 years, and it was a group of business owners trying to promote retail, and they did a lot of good things, even down to, like the name and the logo and, bylaws, and they did a lot of the groundwork to create a business association for the downtown of Brandon. But what they were really up against was time. So it was a group of business owners that were devoted to, supporting the downtown, promoting the downtown, and everything involved there. But at the end of the day, you meet, you have all these great ideas, and then you go back to running your business. And it's just a matter of time, because it takes a lot of time to run an organization.
And there's never enough time.
There's never enough time. So they were really passionate about it, but at the end of the day, it didn't fully get off the ground because of the time factor, and then COVID came along, and that was kind of when it went into a bit of a slumber for a number of years.
Yeah, the dark ages.
The dark ages, yes, the dark ages of the retail world. That is for sure. Yeah.
We should probably see from a business's perspective how COVID affected them. So, Jayon, what was the business doing to get through COVID? What were the struggles?
Well, some of the struggles that we had, especially during the pandemic, was quite simply people didn't leave the house. We had a drastic effect on the community, and our business was shut down for just over 6 weeks. So at that point in time, we kind of just vacated the premises. Downtown was pretty absent at that point in time. And now it's been picking up. It's been a lot better. It's continued as we've had people leaving the house again, coming back to their everyday lives. But there is still a lack of community. There is still a need for people to feel safe to come outside, that it's okay to go outside, and to really create those habits again of people enjoying a community and a downtown and social experiences.
And you brought up a good point when you mentioned safety. We've since the pandemic, we've become a much more safety conscious. Not that we weren't before, but we're hyper safety focused. Is that a concern that also, as a business owner, is that one of the goals of the downtown biz?
It is, especially with the perception of safety. So I've been downtown for, well, I guess it's been 20 years, my business.
Wow.
And we've never had any concerns or considerations with our business. We've never had any of the things that people are afraid of. So that's a wonderful thing. Now, right away, people will say, but your business is locked door policy. Our business is always on a locked door policy.
Right.
You know, what are you afraid of? And it's not that we're afraid of anything. It was first enforced through the pandemic because we had to screen people individually before coming into the building. But now we just find it's a wonderful way to keep crowd control. You know, we don't have people just coming in, hanging out. Before the pandemic, we'd have, you know, families of people hanging out in our waiting room. And that gets very loud if you're coming for a massage. You know, if you want to come in for a treatment, you don't want to have a lot of ruckus and excitement and everything going on in the waiting area. You want things to be contained. You want things to be quiet. And more importantly, it's hard to keep the staff under control because the staff are very busy moving from appointment to appointment. But if there are people in the waiting area who are making small talk, having conversations, and trying to ask various questions to different people, it's hard to keep on a timetable, and as such, the business starts lagging behind a little bit.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. And that seems like a great place for the downtown biz to help local businesses. What are the other objectives for the downtown biz?
So the downtown biz, we are focused on 4 pillars, we call them. We have our 4 pillars. So safety and security is a big one. And what's coming out of that as we're evolving is really a lot, like Jayon said, the perception of safety. Because I'm downtown every day. I walk the streets every day. I don't feel unsafe. Like it's, you know, I mean, it's an
Correct.
eclectic neighborhood. There's no denying that. There's all sorts of people downtown. But actual safety, the perception is, if you would agree, far worse than the reality.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. And then another big safety, you know, kind of safety thing that the downtown biz is a promoter of is just people, bringing traffic back, foot traffic to the downtown. Because the more people that are in an area, the safer people will feel. Right? So that's, you know, and then also promoting, you know, there is programs for security cameras and lighting and all that stuff on businesses as well. So safety and security is one of our pillars. Beautification, cleanliness, so promoting, you know, like we worked with the city and to develop, or we gave our input for a litter cleanup program and just, you know, promoting and advocating for beautification and cleanliness. Right now, I've sent an email to all our members asking for their feedback about garbage and the challenges for commercial units have with taking care of their garbage in the downtown. And then we're going to take that to the city. The city has asked for this feedback. This is, you know, a joint effort. And how can we help businesses with that? So cleanliness, beautification, events, promotion, marketing, that's become a big one. When we started this, events were kind of at the bottom of my radar, and they have quickly moved to the top of the radar.
Events are my favorite.
Yes. So everybody wants Pickle Fest back. So
Yes.
we want Pickle Fest, block parties, all that stuff. And then the last one is lobbying and advocacy. So just as things come back, you know, lobbying for more, you know, perhaps more market housing in the downtown, you know, promoting that and lobbying for things come up and that is maybe harmful to business and going to the city and saying this doesn't work for the business community. So that's kind of our 4 main areas that we focus on.
What is your funding, primary source of funding?
So maybe I'll rewind a bit because we kind of talked a bit about the history of the biz before COVID.
Right.
So I'll come back to that because that ties into the funding. So last fall, a group of business owners approached the previous president of the biz, like biz version 1.0, I call it, pre-COVID, and said, should we get a biz going again? Like, it seems like we need something here. Businesses need to kind of have their voice heard in the downtown. And so hence was when version 2.0 of the biz came along, and which is where I got involved at that point. But what the group of business owners recognized was what didn't work the first time.
Right.
And what didn't work the first time was there was no funding and there was no staff to carry out what the board or, the business owners thought would be helpful. So
Great idea, nobody to do anything.
Exactly. So right from the launching gate, the number one objective of the BIZ was we need funding so we can hire staff to follow through on these ideas and do the actual work. So we went in January and approached the city for funding in what is considered one of the worst years. We could have done that, there is no doubt. We asked for $150,000 in funding and were incredibly honored when the city did grant us that, with conditions, which is, I respect, because they need to be accountable for to their taxpayers. So the conditions were that we needed to have 75 members, so 75 paying businesses. At the time we asked for the funding, we had about 20 businesses on board. So that would get us 50,000. And then the other 100,000 was set aside and they would match what we raised 2 to 1.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have since met all those objectives and along with some private donation that gave us a boost as well, we are funded for our first year and ready to go.
I like that funding strategy. You
Yeah.
do the work and we'll amplify your efforts.
Yeah, and the funding, that having those conditions attached really made us, for lack of a better word, hustle. And we hustled and got the word out, and it was actually a really positive to the biz to have those conditions.
Gave you an attainable goal.
Yeah.
And a way to get there, or a reason to get there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you the motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to use taxpayer money to.
I really respect the city for how they gave that to us. It was like, we'll support you, but we need to see, some effort on your end.
And would it be fair to say that you represent an efficient way for city council to interact with the downtown specific businesses by representing them as one voice? Is that a fair way to characterize?
I would say that is one of in the research I've done about business associations, that is one of the main roles of a business association, is to be that conduit between the private and the public. And so, for instance, I meet with the city every month, and we talk about downtown issues. And last month we talked, as I mentioned before, about the garbage, what's it like to dispose of garbage as a business owner in the downtown. And the response from the city overall has been, we're so happy we have a way to talk to the businesses now. Because beforehand, I have identified over 350 businesses in the downtown, and I'm still building that list. I think I'm going to top out near 400.
Nice.
And so how is a city supposed to talk to all those businesses and gain consensus, right? They can't, right? And so as a biz, so last week I sent out an email to all our members, we have 83 members right now, and said, give me your feedback on this issue, and then I'll take it and compile it and present it to the city in a way that, gives some consensus and kind of breaks down 80 people's opinions into one list. And then we can start targeting, we can start identifying the main challenges, and then we can start looking for solutions to those. So yes, that's a huge role of the biz.
And you get to deal with people like Jayon.
Yes.
It's a fun time, isn't it?
I'm so lucky.
It's been good.
It has been really good. Jayon is on our board. We have a board of directors of seven on our board.
Well, we just brought one on, new one, so to be fair.
There's been.
So a
It
great
changes.
question for Jayon is, does the board get along? Do they agree? Is it, are they butting heads? What's the mood like?
The mood has been actually very collaborative. There's a general desire for things to move forward, to create some momentum and create some actual change and improving our downtown area, because it's such a vital area for the community. If you don't have a vibrant core, you're going to have some real issues when it comes to the overall health of the community.
It's a great follow-up question then. So what are the biggest challenges that prevent businesses from flourishing and, of course, prevent the biz from helping the the businesses flourish? Yeah, it's a question to each of you, of course, because there's a different point of view, I would suspect, from somebody who's the doer, the action, the get things done, versus the person that sees things not getting done, right?
Right.
For somebody to do something, something needs to be done. So what are the biggest challenges facing businesses to start, as a good way to start?
For starting in downtown, that's a good question. One of the biggest things that we ran into, well, there was two really the biggest things that we ran into when we first moved downtown. The first was parking, of course.
Oh, I hate
parking.
parking.
Is always a consideration.
Hate
It's always a
parking.
concern. And we've really pivoted quite well. People are used to the parking. I mean, our meters take nickels. It's really not that bad.
But who has nickels?
Well, that's the other problem that we do tend to have, right? So that's one of the biggest problems is still dealing with parking considerations. And again, it's the perception of safety. Like when we decided to come downtown into our current location, people said, if you move down there, I will never come to your business again. And guess what? They still come to our business.
Not the best way to start a journey.
No.
Yeah.
Wonderful support on that. But
Yeah.
people, the problem was people felt it wasn't safe. But when people started coming down, they're like, well, wait a minute, you're right by the library. That's pretty safe. You're right by some of the restaurants that we go to on a regular basis. That's pretty safe. We go to those places without any considerations. So when they start feeling more comfortable and they start coming down more often, and people start seeing, it's not what some naysayers tend to say. They feel safe. They feel more secure.
And I've actually done with WCGTV, I have the opportunity, of course, to do a lot of filming in the downtown area. And I'll amplify what you say. I was a little concerned. But now because I've done it so many times with always positive experiences, that I'm in a similar boat. What I've realized was not what I expected. So yeah, I would tend to agree with you that it has a bad rap, and I'm not sure that it's deserved.
Well, I grew up as a kid walking around downtown Brandon, whether it's buying comic books or going out for food, or, when you get older, maybe like trying to sneak into a bar or something like that. But never at any of those times did I feel particularly unease. And when my family's been having local businesses downtown since the 70s, things are good. It just comes down to the perception and getting people to, come out and explore the community again.
Can you speak about any of the other businesses that are represented on the board as to how their motivation to be on the board perhaps differs from how your motivation to be on the board? Like there must be many viewpoints of many problems that can be solved for everybody to come together and collaborate. What are some of the other businesses struggling with?
I think some people still struggle with, cleanliness being an important one. Getting more people downtown because, you might have noticed there's vacancies. There's open spaces. And there's
Getting
a definite
foot
need.
traffic.
Exactly. Getting the foot traffic down, getting people coming down on a regular basis. And if you don't have some sort of continual development and encouraging new businesses and new people to come down, it's very difficult because it turns into a state of stagnation.
I would agree. And of course, the follow-up question then would be, how do you separate yourself from the other general business interests? For example, the Chamber of Commerce. How do you provide benefit to your members that they're not getting by, say, being a part of the Chamber of Commerce?
Right. So, and that's a really good question, one we do get asked, because there's the Chamber of Commerce, and that's the Brandon Chamber of Commerce. They represent the entire city, right? And they represent businesses citywide.
All over the place.
Yeah. And so the main difference, without getting into our specific mandates too deeply, the main difference is we're focused on the downtown. And we're focused on downtown revitalization, supporting downtown and making it a vibrant place for businesses to be, for citizens to be, to live, what is it, live, work, shop, play, all the things. So our focus is downtown. That would be the big distinction there. And then there's also the BDDC, which is the Brandon Downtown Development Corp. And so there's, we work very closely with them, but they're more focused on funding. They're more focused on finding money for funding, and they're fantastic. Facade upgrades, business support. We used BDDC funding to pay for our website, to pay for promotional materials. So they're a funding stream into downtown businesses, where we're more boots on the ground, like, let's look at parking, let's look at garbage, let's look at litter, let's look at promotion, let's look at events, so we're like the boots on the ground supporting. And so much of what we do is actually shifted since we started last fall, since version 2.0 started last fall. It's shifted based on demand, based on feedback from membership, based on meeting with the BDDC and the chamber and finding out what they do, and then we shifted our mandate so we're not duplicating efforts. We're like, okay, this is what you do, here's how we can fit. Because we don't want to all just be in our corners working independently in our own silos. It's a very collaborative effort downtown. I meet with the BDDC, the chamber regularly, and we all make sure that we're focused on our mandates, which don't overlap.
Well, I'm glad everyone's getting along.
Oh, yes, very much, very much.
You mentioned events, foot traffic, boots on the ground. Events, of course, my favorite thing. Can you give us an example of an event that happens downtown, so is relevant to the downtown businesses, an event that happens downtown that generates foot traffic in the downtown area, and how the BIZ helped that event out?
So definitely the BIZ is here to support and promote events, and one of the downtown events everyone knows about, or should know about if they don't, is the Downtown Cruise Nights.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah, everybody knows about that.
Everyone knows about that one.
Everyone knows
It's a
about
good
the
one.
Downtown
It's
Cruise
one of my
Nights.
favorites.
And so, it was important to us, that's a long-standing event. And so I've met with the organizers of that event several times. And basically, as the BIZ, we're not necessarily going to put on the event, but we want to make downtown an event-friendly environment. And so how can we help events function? Some of the roadblocks that were identified overall, that safety, that perception of safety. Sanitation is a big one. Cleanliness before and after, promoting, getting word out, all these things. So that's where the BIZ comes in, is sort of helping events with these roadblocks, and how can we clear those. So with the Downtown Cruise Night, one of their challenges was bathrooms.
I bet.
And having bathrooms available, and where can
It's a lot of people.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we've stepped up this year, and with community support, we're making sure that there's good bathroom facilities for all the events for that. And just trying to clear that roadblock, and then we'll see what blossoms from there. But that's a place we're starting. That's the need they identified, and so the BIZ stepped up to fill that need.
Yeah, and it's a great example. It's because it's something that is so easily overlooked. Nobody thinks of the nuts and bolts of putting on an event, and if you're there helping give people positive experiences, because if I'm at the cruise night and I got to go home,
Right.
I'm going to remember that.
Yes.
And next year or next cruise night, I'm like, not a chance.
Yeah.
I'm not risking
Right.
it. There's
Yeah.
no darn way. What is the relationship between the BIZ and the we'll say the authorities, the people that are paid to keep us safe, and well, there's no real way to put it. What's it like with you and the cops? You guys getting along?
Yes, very much.
Can you describe how your relationship, what your relationship is with between the police and the BIZ? The police have admittedly an extremely difficult job, and they're answering to a lot of different interest groups.
Yeah, so we're so fortunate in our downtown. We have a dedicated downtown liaison officer. We have officers dedicated to the downtown. And then we have the cadet program, which, if you don't know about the cadet program, it's one of the shining stars of the downtown. It was started last year with 4 cadets, and it was expanded this year. And so I met with the cadets a couple weeks ago. I've met with the new downtown liaison officer, just building relationships, building that communication. And the same as what I said for the city, how we can be a conduit if the police if BPS, wanted to communicate anything to the businesses, we're there to communicate that as well for them. So yeah, no, great relationships. And I'll actually expand on that question, because something that's been so positive about the biz is we've been forging amazing relationships with all the organizations. Like the city has been incredibly supportive, the police, and even down to the social services, because that's a big, we can't deny that,
There's a presence there.
that presence in the downtown. And it's so easy to look at, business and social service and, think that there's going to be conflict there. But at the biz, like for the biz, there is no conflict. There's no conflict in that we all want the same thing. We all want a healthy downtown. We all want people to have homes. We all want business to thrive. The city, the social services, the businesses all have the same or similar vision for the downtown. We maybe have different ideas about what's important or how to get there, but, and for me personally, coming on this in the beginning, I didn't want this to be conflict. The biz shouldn't be there fighting the other stakeholders in the downtown. There's stakeholders, and we all need to work together, and that's what's been happening. And the energy and the momentum, when you combine those efforts, is amazing. It's been really positive.
And I like that the biz has an opportunity to get businesses from the downtown area together so that they can have that find that collaboration and the chance to agree with what do we want to do, what is most important to us, and then you get to hear from all of the businesses that are specifically affected by having a business in the downtown. It's not the same as having a car dealership at the end of the town. They have their problems, and downtown has their problems. So I do like that you're bringing a specific group of people together to discuss about issues that specifically relate to them.
Yeah, and giving the downtown business community a voice, because before, if, say Jayon had issues, who does he go, maybe you'll call the police, maybe you'll call the city, you don't know, like who do you talk to? And now we're giving businesses a place to go. If, you can come, you can talk to the biz, and we'll hear it. We're listening, we're hearing, and and you're not gonna revitalize a downtown overnight. It's not a one-year thing. This is a 5, 10, 20 years. The work of a biz is never done.
Now,
It's
if I own
ongoing.
a business downtown and I want to sign up, what do
Yes.
I do? Where
Yeah.
do I go?
So the easiest way now is to go to our website, www.brandondowntown.biz.
I've heard of websites.
It'll take you about 30 seconds to sign up. And something to say is our membership base is not limited to downtown businesses. We've had a number of businesses outside of the downtown saying, like, we support this. How do we support it? And we also have a resident component because, at 5 o'clock, all the businesses to go home, but there's so many people that live down there. We actually have a resident on our board, who brings that different perspective.
Well done.
And so, yeah, it's very easy to sign up. The membership fee is nominal. The city matches it 2-to-1, which is helpful.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's very easy. And it's really, because supporting a downtown supports the whole city, right? This is not an isolated neighborhood. The healthier a downtown is, the more revenue from taxes there is for the entire city, the more culture is brought. We are so fortunate to have such a beautiful historic downtown. It is a gift and it is a gem. And it benefits the entire city, for that to be built up and utilized.
Wow. That was a lot to cover. I think we did pretty good. Jayon, I'd like to thank you, and Emmy, I'd especially like to thank you.
Thank you.
You're very passionate about the downtown area and getting the problems that need boots on the ground. You're going to actually do the work.
Yes,
And
we're going to try.
I can't wait till next cruise night now. I can tell people where the porta potties came from.
May 16th.
And I can't wait to see cruise night. the next block party.
Yeah.
Is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And I hope we see you guys there.
So much great stuff. And we do have an events page on our website too.
You're kidding.
Yes, so it's being populated as we speak. People are sending me events. So if you want to know anything happening downtown,
Check out the
We've got it.
Downtown Biz website for an event guide, and we'll see you there, and we'll see you back here on our next episode. Thanks for watching.